Wonderful Nigerians, I am glad you're there again today. This is another wonderful day. And you're welcome to your favorite program, Nigeria Today. In today's Nigeria Today, we are going to look at sundry issues, and I'm sure you are going to enjoy a hell lot of it. And today, I am not alone in the house. What we'll be looking at is the bomb scare at Alai Imei, the Sukwatol local government area of Abia State. Outside that, we will also be looking at the PDP Beret sacked LP lawmaker for protesting in Abia State. As well, we will also be looking at what happens in Abia State here. A Nigerian governor who abandons multi-billion Naira government house and runs government from his country home. These and many more will be coming your way today. And then, as usual, I have a wonderful analyst in the house who will be doing justice to these topics. A man whose accumulated wealth of experience will help you understand what we're talking about today. And today, I have with me in this studio Comrade Nnamdi Lekwachi. Comrade Nnamdi Lekwachi is a historian. He's also a political affairs analyst and a public affairs analyst. He is a man of many parts. Comrade, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here. Good day, our viewers.
All right, today we are going to kick off with what happened in Abia State here just about 4 or 5 days ago. The people of Alai Imei Autonomous Community of Lomara, Umonochi local government area of Abia State, have alerted the Abia State government about the discovery of an object in their community suspected to be a bomb. And then, talking about bomb, and so before we go into the matter properly, I'm sure some of you are aware of the Mining Concept Limited, a man who is a bomb expert as it concerns, Nigeria, who has been in the war and so on. The man we're talking about who is the chairman, managing director and CEO of the Mining Concept Limited, who has done the wonderful works in Abia State, Anambra, Ebonyi, Rivers, and so many other parts of the country. But I think we are talking about Umonochi because of the volatile nature of that area. And this man has been directly involved in removing bombs, and not just removing bombs recently. And then I think in 2 or 3 weeks' time, there will be the destruction of a stockpile. That is some of these bombs that were discovered in so many states and some local governments and so on. It will be done in Abuja very soon. And then as we move on from here, we will be talking to the man. Comrade.
Yes,
talking about these bomb scare that was discovered, they've approached the House of Member representing Umonochi,
yes,
and via the governor of Abia State. And then, do you think the right people has been made as we speak?
Well, to an extent, yes, the right persons have been met. We live in a governed society. You understand? We are not living in the Hobbesian world entirely, so to speak. If I am to be particular in this instance, in this analysis, we live in a structured society where you have government, and government has tiers and layers. So this thing happened in a community where there is a member, or from where a member had been elected to represent the people. And as it were, if they are to approach the governor or the state government, I do not know the nature of protocol or what it may actually take them. So the nearest person, and that is why people should know the benefits or the importance of having representative government, the kind we run or the system we operate here. The nearest person to them here, as it were, happen to be their representative. So now they have met their case known to him. It's left for him to approach the governor, because I believe it is easier, or it will be easier for him to approach the governor than those people at the community or at the grassroots level. That said, I think the issue of unexploded ordinances is not one we are just waking up to. I think some of the ordinances of the Civil War, some of them did not explode. Some of them are still being evacuated. Some of them are still being discovered. Some of them are still being evacuated, and some of them are still being, in most cases, some places, some communities are still being demined. You understand? Some communities are still being demined to remove this care. So it is the duty of government. It's not, and if you look at it, you see that it is not what someone like you and me here can actually do. It requires a lot of training. In most cases, they even talk about forensic experts coming or going into the field. It's not just a military affair. There is a special branch of military, or a special or a professional cadre that is required, you understand, to perform that function. You understand? It's not just any branch of the military that does that, because the military itself is an institution of its own. You have engineering corps, you have the medical corps, you also have a lot of things there. It's not just about shooting, it's not just about war. There are different professional trainings, you understand, people undergo. So I think this has happened, and then you talked about the volatility of this area in focus, which is where we've had a lot of kidnappings. This is where we've had a lot of violent activities by non-state actors, and then allegedly by state actors. So we cannot clearly establish elaborately or sufficiently here that this unexploded ordinance, that's UXO, yes, this UXO, this unexploded ordinance was actually planted by a state actor or non-state actor. It could be something that has been there decades long. It could be something that had been there maybe in recent time, or just it was recently actually planted. But whatever be the case, I think it should be in the interest of the state government, more so the federal government, to intervene in a matter like this, to make sure that such ordinance is evacuated that particular zone, demined, and then such operations should also be enforced to make sure that the coordinates, the perimeters, the radius of these communities, the areas, you understand, are actually explored, to make sure that there are no such other ordinances there within those coordinates.
I don't know if you'll be aware of this the Mining Concept Limited, headed by Professor Balajak Yakubu. They're based in Abuja, but I know they've been in Imo State, and they've been in Imo, Abia, Anambra, Ebonyi, and in fact all the eastern parts of Nigeria, and also some parts of in the north. Yes. And what do they do? Then what they do is, most of these war remnants, like these bomb scares and so on, what they do is to demine them, pull them out.
Yes.
And they didn't just stop at that. They were also helping some of them, most often as a result of ignorance. As our people go to farms and so on, most of these unexploded ordnances, some of them
may go off.
Yes. And then we have some of them with amputated legs and amputated hands. They went as far as helping them, making sure that the federal government do something about them. And that is the demining concept headed by Professor Balajak Yakubu. The way in Abia, the way in Anam, they've been in Imo and so on. And recently they are going to have what they call stockpile destruction.
Yes.
That will be also headed by the president of this country. I think the government or the governor of the state, with what is happening, I think they should also, just like you rightly said, you cannot be sure whether this is as a result of the
ongoing conflict or even the civil war,
the
like
civil
I did mention, or any other thing. Yes, it will take experts to actually decide,
so
and that is why we need the services of the experts like the mining concept to see what can actually be done. It's not just enough to neutralize or to even actually evacuate or even demine. It's also important to run an analysis on what has been discovered. You understand?
Yeah.
So the moment you are neutralizing, the moment you are trying to actually neutralize the ordinance, or you are trying to evacuate, you also carry out an analysis so that we know how long has this been here. You understand?
Yeah.
And then, like I did say earlier, for safety purposes, the coordinates of that very community, you understand, the coordinates where this thing had been discovered should be explored or searched to see whether there are other war remnants left there. You understand? so that we can take care of everything. But then there are also civilian operations that actually may go with granite, things like mining, you understand?
Yeah.
They may actually require granite to actually explode, you understand? The explosive. They will actually open spaces and allow the workers to go to field and see. But then, that's it again, I do not know. I cannot emphatically say this is how this came about. So I think what has to be done is that we expect, and I'm thinking that the governor of the state, then the commissioner for environment, there will be an interface or interagency dialogue. You understand? Let's see the way they can even, if possible, bring in the federal government. You understand? The necessary.
Yes, I think the federal government are directly involved. They've been doing this through the Demining Concept Limited.
Yeah. Yes.
So, but it's just it is all about proper information.
Yeah.
Now that they have cried to the state government, it's just for the state government to reach to the federal. So the federal government already have the Demining Concept of ground, who will now come for this. All right, for us to be in a clearer position, let us see if we can get the CEO of this Demining Concept that have been in this business for some time and see what happens. Okay, he's on. Hello. Good afternoon, sir. Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Hello, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. Hello, can you hear us? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I'm hearing you, sir.
Please, this is a living television, a satellite television in Abia State.
Yes, sir.
So we are discussing about the bomb scare that was found in one of the local governments in Abia State, and then having known that we have a Demining Concept Limited that have been in the business of removing most of these explosives and saving lives in Nigeria, and then we decided to contact and ask you a few questions, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, sir. Please, I want you to just within a few seconds explain to us what is this when we talk about war remnants. How have you been going about it, especially as it concerns Southeast?
Good day, gentlemen.
Good day.
I'm going to receive your question. We have done a little of job. I represent the Demining Concept Nigeria Limited, charged with the clearance of explosive remnants of war and landmines used during the Nigeria Civil War. And when I said explosive remnants of war include even those used by the opposing force against the federal troops. We have cleared a lot of it. We cleared and declared to the United Nations 17,682 and 568 landmines. We still have about 1,600 to be destroyed soon. Unfortunately, Abia was another place where we served, and we spent almost 3 months in Abia State doing our job. And we spend more time in one local government called Ofioma, and there is no clearance all over the world that is complete. You can never put every explosive remnant of war completely, 100%. It's not possible. So we did our best, and soon we are going to display those ones that we have in stock, in our stockpile. But the issue is that some of these bombs that were fired, they were fired from high caliber weapon systems. And some of them, like the most popular that we found within the former eastern region, if I may use the word, if you pardon me, that is south, south, southeast, and part of north central. Some of these bombs were in the caliber of 81 millimeter and 82 millimeter. These bombs, if fired from a mortar tube on a full charge, travels 3.5 kilometers in 6 seconds. And when it gets to the target area and hits the ground, it explodes and spreads 800 meters to radius and damages everything that has life or not. Now, some of these bombs, because of the federal government's struggle to end the war quickly, some of the bombs that were brought in had already expired. So some of them, when fired, they just sink into the ground, particularly, the texture of the land in the east is soft. So some of these bombs will go into the earth and remain there. We dug out bombs that are up to 3 feet into the ground. So now, unfortunately, the east is faced with the issue of erosion. So some of these times, when erosion happens, it washes, the earth surface, and some of these bombs will show. They will continue to be showing. But the important thing is that the layman in the village should not attempt to pick it, should not attempt to either think he can deactivate it. He should call. Now that we are not on site, but we have our task force in the office, if they call, we can ask them to go and pick whatever the device is. Some are homemade, but dangerous, and some are conventional bombs. Thank you, sir.
All right, sir. We also understand that you've been on this for quite some time. And then the last time we interviewed some of your people, we saw some of the people who were affected by this with amputated legs and hands. And we also meant to understand that there is something your organization is doing through the federal government to assist these people. Is that true, sir?
Well, we were, unfortunately, during the last administration, it was the administration itself was like a landmine. It reminds you to us. They were not friendly. But thank God for this present administration. It's so friendly, it's so wonderful, and it's ready to assist us. That time I had the problem of people, complaining. If you remember, the former president said he got a certain number of votes from a certain number. I don't want to be small. Maybe that was why we never got the support we needed. So despite the fact that we never got the support we needed, the task we, the miners, face is we must remove humans from dangerous explosives. And a lot of people were injured in respect of that. We announced and spent almost a year plus to enumerate them and classify them, those who were injured by explosives or landmines during the war, those who were injured by explosives or landmines after the war. The federal government is not responsible for those who were injured during the war. The federal government is responsible for those who were injured after the war. That is, the victim must be able to prove where he was injured, how he was injured, the treatment he received, and our doctors will examine the injury. If he lost a limb or injured severely, the doctor will know, because we have a United Nations template to ascertain the difference between a domestic amputation and an amputation by explosive device. So we know which one to go. During the exercise, we had a lot of people who came in with domestic accidents. Some were injured during the war, and even lepers, people who had leprosy came out to be exonerated. We did, but the Ministry of Defense will certainly take care of that when we resume.
Okay, sir. Finally, before we let you off the hook, sir, is the organization ready to go back to the field any moment now, any moment soon?
We have good assurance and likeness by this administration.
Okay.
The administration, this hope agenda includes saving lives. That is why we were so happy when they came up with the hope agenda campaign.
Okay.
Their hope agenda includes saving the lives of our people. Their hope agenda includes clearing the remaining. We have 20% more bombs to clear from Abia, Imo, Anambra, Ebonyi, and Delta. So we are still, they are encouraging us to go back. I'm sure very, very soon there will be a pronouncement by the government in respect of this resumption. They are wonderful. They are better than the previous one that I referred to as a minefield.
So this is to say there is hope for even the what we are talking about in Abia State, the Umunochi area.
Sure, sir. But our advice is that anybody who sees and who will lead with your television house and the other media facilities, to please ensure that when such a device is seen, it should be marked.
Okay.
It should be marked. Probably use a rope or a stone to block past the passage or people's access to it. When we come, we'll make announcements. If we are taking the we'll pick it up and destroy it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. We are pleased to have you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
All right. A few years that you heard from the horse's mouth, that is Professor Balajak Yakubu. He is the chairman, CEO of the Mining Nigeria Concept Limited. He is a bomb expert who has been in charge of removing most of these explosives in most of the war-affected areas, and that is what they have been doing for years. They've been in Abia, they've been in Imo, they've been in Anambra, and at least as a journalist, I've covered some of their projects, and that's why we had to invite him to hear them. I'm sure people from Umunochi have listened to us, and they're listening to us even as we speak. That area where you've discovered this bomb scare, please do not go closer. Just mark that place and leave it. Something will be done about it very, very soon. And I'm also sure that as soon as they come into Abia, because they don't go anywhere without letting the state government or the government that is involved to know about it. So we ask Umunochi people to stay clear. Your cry has been heard, and very soon it will be attended to. All right, comrade, what do you have to say about that before we go over to the next one?
Yes, I think it was a nice intervention we just had. And then clarification of certain information with which one may not be familiar. But I did say here earlier, I remember I was saying that some of the unexploded ordnances could be traced to the Civil War. And I think he does injustice to that. And then again, talking about diffusing and then deactivating. Talking about diffusing and deactivating, that one to me is left for them. They are experts. But like he has said, the tips he had given, stay away from it, make sure you mark that place. You designate it as a security threat. Yes, yes, a danger zone, a danger zone sort of. You do the needful and then remain calm. And I believe definitely help is coming their way. As for the bomb, it will be deactivated, it will be defused if it was fused, and then it will definitely be evacuated, and then I think life will return to normal.
All right, before we go to another thing, let us look at some of these this video clip on some of the things we are talking about. Please, can we have that video clip? All right. While they are looking for that video clip, let us go over to the next state. Comrade,
yeah,
there's a way we know that Aba North, the lawmaker from Aba North is of the Labour Party, and recently, November 27th, the Court of Appeal sitting in Lagos has dismissed the appeal, brought by innocent Uragba of the Labour Party, LP, saying that his prayers lacked merit. They reinstated his PDP counterpart, who is now taking that seat as we speak today. And then, that is not just the end of the whole thing. Just that same day, the Uragba of a person was seen in the streets of Aba weeping, with a lot of people around him saying that this is a rape of democracy, and that Aba people should say no to that. And now we know that a lot of so many persons have been removed, but it's like this is just synonymous of the Labour Party. Remember of that of the lawmaker, the chief whip, and so on. And now this one. So what was your take on this?
Well, my take on this is simple. I think we are beginning to have Justice Somersault. Yes, we are beginning to have Justice Somersault in the justice sector. That's the court. And it's unfortunate that a matter where you have the Supreme Court ruling, because the Supreme Court is not just any court; it is a court of policy. So the matter where you have the Supreme Court entertaining and then issuing a verdict or awarding a judgment, you could have a lower court now overturn the judgment of the Supreme Court within the same dispensation. Not even that we are talking about the next election cycle. We are talking about the same election cycle where post-election matters, or let me say litigations had been heard, cases had been pursued before courts up to the Supreme Court, and then we saw the verdict. For example, the Supreme Court ruled that any party outside the political party in question is not qualified to talk about primary elections. You understand? Except when they are members of the party, or those who had participated in the primary and were affected by the likely outcome of the primary, or the outcome of the primary itself, so that they do not have the local standing to approach the court. But we are hearing now, or happening before us, including the one that happened in in Nasarawa and Plateau State and what have you, that even the written judgment is now different from the verdict awarded. So I think we've come to a place where I do not know what to say again. Does it mean that the appeal court is trying to vacate the position already established by the Supreme Court? Because if you look at it very well, you will see that in these cases, some of these Labour Party members, and I'm not a Labour Party member anyway, when they try to control the House, even without the majority, I cried out against that. And then fortunately or unfortunately, the majority leader too has been affected by this court decision. You understand? So the whole thing is that he who must come to equity must come with clean hands.
Yes.
And I believe in justice. So what I'm trying to say is that it does not bode well for our justice system. It bodes ill for our justice system that the Supreme Court which is the final court of jurisdiction in election matters, will hand down a judgment, or will deliver a judgment or verdict or even policy. You understand? Because whatever the Supreme Court decides is policy and binding on other courts, then a lower court will, in this case now, go into the same matter and begin to have a different interpretation, just because they are a final court in this instance. So I think it's where we are at today, because in Nigeria, justice had been made a commodity. And let me even shock you that I became worried about what was to unfold when Senator Bukajua, a senator, during the valedictory section, the day a senator from this state actually cried about marginalization against the EU for not clinching the Senate President position. Yes, the day Senator Josokal actually cried. That valedictory section had Senator Bukajua indict the Ninth Assembly, saying that some of the members in the Hallowed Chamber approached him. His wife was the president of Appeal Court, and the Appeal Court is the court of final jurisdiction when it comes to the legislature. So he said he was able to get the wife to declare judgment, a favorable one to members. Apart from that, we heard about Justice Datijo, a retiring justice, in another valedictory section, this time to mark his retirement from the Apex Court, indict not just the Apex Court, but the Chief Justice of the Federation, saying that too much powers vested in him could actually lead to corruption. He is to head the National Judicial Council. He is to appoint justices who will do what? Who will defend themselves. So if you look at it, you see that our justice system is facing serious challenge now. People no longer repose confidence in the system. And then it has been made worse by the election. You understand? The litigations following the election, whether it is PDP, whether it was for Labour Party, whether it was for APC, whether it was for Accord Party, whether it was for anybody, you see that the matter at hand now has actually, in fact, we have a system, I call it justice somersault, and it has inserted serious question mark into the presumptions of the so-called last hope of the common man, you understand, or the so-called independence of the judiciary. And going forward, we may likely begin to have that conversation. Should the president keep appointing the Chief Justice of the Federation? Should the president, by extension now, also appoint the INEC chair? Should the president be the one to appoint the service chiefs? Should the president be the one to... You see that virtually all the appointments the president makes, all the appointments he makes, are the ones that are the people that would actually do what? Midwife, implement, and if possible, and he that pays the pipe, and he who pays the pipe pays the tune. And as you speak here, INEC's budget comes from the president directly.
Okay.
So it's a huge one.
All right. There are too many questions to ask about the appointment by Mr. President, and then if we must move ahead, if this country must remain as one indivisible one, I think something must be done.
Something must definitely be done.
All right, still in Abia State, the appeal court in Lagos has upheld the victory of Ugochukwu Collins Ihononegwu of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) as duly elected member of Abia State House of Assembly for Isialagwa North constituency. The court dismissed the appeal brought by Innocent Uraba of the Labour Party (LP), saying that his prayers lacked merit. The appeal court also upheld the victory of Chijoke Uraba PDP as the duly elected member of Fugunabo constituency in Abia State House of Assembly. The court agreed with the ruling of the tribunal, which had earlier dismissed the petition of Iyana Chowabara of the Labour Party, saying that the petitioner could not prove his case. Meanwhile, the deputy majority leader of the Abia State House of Assembly, Destiny Wagu of the Labour Party (LP), was sacked by the appeal court for failure to prove his membership in the party before the March 18th election.
Yes.
All right, looking at this, and then I know it was also in this platform that you and one of our other analysts also said it was wrong not to give the majority leadership to the people who are actually in the majority.
Who are in the majority.
Now, do we see these as scam or what?
Well, the courts actually, by virtue of their ruling, actually overturned everything, and now we may likely have a house with clear majority of PDP. It's not going to be one or let me say 11 against 10. You understand, or 11 to 10. it's now clearly, in fact, Labour Party has lost grounds, and to an extent it may affect the structure of the House, of the other 8 assembly. And but I think definitely going forward there may be restructuring in the because you can't have 7 or 8 members and another party is having 11 members, and you're talking about the majority, you understand? But be that as it may, away from that, let us look at the content of the matter. And to me, to an extent, that represents a miscarriage of justice, because the appeal court cannot claim to have acquired powers superior to that of or to those of the Supreme Court. We still talk about judicial hierarchy, and the hierarchy of the courts must be upheld. Before now, it used to be court of coordinate jurisdiction, confusing themselves with ex parte motion judgment, and then you see you hear that in Niger State it happened once. A high court somewhere ruled that Uche Oga, Dr. Samson Uche Oga, be sworn in as the Abia governor. And another court of coordinate jurisdiction in Abia State here now ruled that you understand what I'm saying now? That such should not happen. Now, if you take it a bit far, you see that this thing has been happening. But what is different in this case now is that it's not even a landmark incident, but it is an ugly occurrence. I call it ugly outcome, because we are having a situation where a lower court, no longer court of the same coordinate. You understand what I'm saying now? I'm no longer saying a federal high court is saying and a state high court is ruling, or that now it is now a lower court. You understand? No matter what you want to call it, no matter the legalist, we would like to actually deploy. To me, is going to affect our justice system, and then I do not know, but I think it doesn't spell, because this is the same thing people were talking about, that Peter Obi was not actually captured as a member of the Labour Party at the time he contested the election. The Supreme Court ruled in his favor. It happened in the case of Shetima. The Supreme Court ruled in his favor. So those people who went to court, some of them thought that they were home and dry, but unfortunately, lo and behold, we are seeing this happen. And in most cases, people believe that this is just transactional, that justice has been bought, and that the winner takes it all. So,
okay,
but then, as it may, I think all these things happening point to one thing: we need reforms. We need to begin to talk about the legislation that will take into consideration some of these developments.
You know, in the case
even mitigation, we must make sure that we exhaust litigation or our windows of litigation before swearing in.
Okay, that's exactly where I think a lot of persons have said that, and I think that is it is very, very important, because it is not. It is. I don't think it is fair for you to be a judge over your own case.
And you could see that even in the case of Darlington, you see the magistrate who was sacked from here, the same court. The same matter was actually reviewed or entertained by the court concerning another federal lawmaker, this time of the lower house, Ginger. And yes, why the court actually ruled in favor of it? Now the whole thing turned, and they begin to ask, was the court contradicting itself or something? So
I think at this point, that is where they'll now tell you that is technicalities.
Yeah, technicalities, and then also it could mean, now listen, it could also mean that the Supreme Court had actually set a wrong precedent using technicalities that other lower courts are now beginning to.
Well, let's not go there. Well, we still believe, and we still want to encourage Nigerians to believe in the judiciary, no matter what happens. And then it's not just one-sided, because it's affected. Okay, what about what happened in Jos Plateau State?
Yeah, and I was talking about that too. And that was why I said, how can a court be certified through copy of the judgment handed out to her? You see that the court ruled something else. Another thing was actually embodied in the so the letter and the spirit of the whole judgment did not even tally.
Okay, even as we speak, the Labour Party is still asking for the judgment
for the one of Peter Obi, and we are even hearing that the court never ever ruled anything, that there was no judgment.
Exactly. So we will watch. We are Nigerians.
We are watching.
We are watching. And
then unfortunately, we need to have a situation where people now approach our partners in democracy, people whose high foreign missions like embassies and high commissions invest in our election, telling them not to allow certain justices, you understand, of our courts to enter into the country. Yesterday, Sama, the man who actually led the panel at the appeal court, his name was actually everywhere on the internet over the same issue. And then the question should be for us, what is the way forward?
All right, what is the way forward? That is the little we are going to take, and then we are going to go on a very short break. When we come back, Nigeria Today continues. Don't go away and keep watching, and then we'll be back shortly. I am glad you're still there. This is still your favorite television, The Living TV. Thank you for being there, and I'm sure you're enjoying every beat of these discourse this morning. And I'm sure anytime you see your analyst on set, you're always happy because you know his accumulated wealth of experience will always have something to add to yours. All right, having said that, we are moving on. Nigerian governor abandons multi-billion naira government house, runs government from country home. The state has both an old and a newly built government house, but the governor does not want to use any of them. And then it's talking about the governor of Abia State.
Yes.
And then Governor Alex Oti of Abia State, they say he has abandoned a newly built multi-billion naira government house. And we also know that in as much as it's not fully completed, okay, they handed over and also inaugurated that building before leaving office,
yeah.
You know, early this year. And so you've what's your take on this?
I think it
running the government house from his home.
Yes, I think it is simple. I always say it without let or hindrance. Without let or hindrance. I am somebody who believes in fairness, justice, in being open and being transparent. I think it is a wrong precedent, which Governor Ogezi himself also began, and I will tell you why. It's not wise for any governor to actually run governance from his home, even when you may say yes, he comes to his office, even when you may also say there is no law. You understand? There is no law saying he must be in the government house. But I have to say this. We all know that for the purpose of governance, government houses and government lodges are built and maintained with state funds. For example, in Abuja, you have Abia State is expected to have a lodge to be maintained through the liaison officer and the rest of them. You also have a lodge in Aba here, where they lived at a point, which is not entirely bad because it is government facility. Yes. Later, Governor Okezi moved to his hometown and stayed there. He was just alternating, just the same thing. But what I want to say is this: it is simple. See, when you stay in your house, make sure that you are not fueling your generator. You are not running some expenses. No, it is not funny. That is where I have issue with this. Right. Make sure expenses are not being covered with state funds. That will become diversion of public funds for private purposes, whether you like it or not. Because I in one of the speeches Governor Oti made, and it touched me. I do say it here. I supported him then during the campaign. Campaigns have come and gone. Governance has begun. You campaign in prose, then you rule or you govern in poetry. See, business of governance is different from the realities of governance is different from campaign. You understand? Now, he said something I don't think actually sits well with me. He said anywhere he is, government house is there. He said he doesn't need to be government house governor. But to me, I think we have protocol. We also have tradition in this thing. So if government house is built and maintained or kept with taxpayers' money, it means that the governor should also be there. That was why people were actually saying, you can actually imagine Tinubu living in Lagos, flying presidential jets every month. That would also double expenses in terms of fuel, in terms of what has to be consumed, in terms of even movement of person and personnel who will be in the retinue. But that's by the way. Those who are talking about Governor OKZ building multi-billion worth of government town, I think they should also be careful when they talk about it, because I'm aware that the state government, in reaction to this news now trending, Uko Kazwe, the secretary to the yes, he took some pressmen and they went to inspect the facility. They said some of the things there we are not even complete yet, and they said the place, according to them, was not livable as at that time. They were saying there is something about Nigeria and governance I don't like. At the tail end, in fact, the proverbial rodent that will not actually burrow, you understand, until the pangs of pregnancy come. Until the pangs and the pains of pregnancy come, it will now start burrowing to give birth. You understand? We have that approach where governors or presidents they will do next to nothing until the 11th hour. It was the same thing that led us to stampede the so-called Nigeria Air. Because the government had been there at the last hour, you are trying to commission something. That was why Buhari had to launch Dangote, the refinery that is yet to come on stream or is yet to be activated. Even the hospital they launched and everything. And I believe when this government house was actually built and commissioned or even dedicated, there were inventories that need to be taken, that must have been taken. So if at all some of those things are not there and there is a claim that they were there, it is left for the governor to spill the beans. But for me, I think people should make sure they complete any project they begin. And then Governor Oti, and to me, he must also ensure that when he is there in his house, he is there on account of himself, not on account of the state. You understand? That is how I want to.
All right, all right. I think while talking about this multi-billion naira government house, we should also know that even before OKZ commenced the building of this, we had that old government house,
yes,
and that is where he himself operated. If OKZ ever operated from Omawekwa, that was maybe towards the late, while he was almost
even if he operated
now, for what you're saying now, we are talking about the old and new.
The old and new.
And then, according to Premium Times, for about 6 months running now, the current governor, Governor Alex Oti, both the old and new, whether completed or incompleted, at least the old one had been there. And then that's new one, even if it is not completed.
Yes.
I think government is all about is continuing.
Yes,
and then something is supposed to have been done for running. But there is something very important here you mentioned. Even if he's running from his own, let the expenses not involve the state government.
Yes, because the only place you have costs to be covered by the state, or costs to be borne by the state, is when the governor is in the government house. I do not know if there is a law saying anywhere the governor is the government house, and I do not think that law exists. But what I want to say is that I think I even heard the former commissioner for information talking about this, and he said why it appeared as if the government house, the old government house was actually empty was because certain things have to be evacuated to the new government house. Okay. He did mention that. Then again, I think now to balance their own account, they now said that not everything about the government, even the swimming pool, they mentioned the facilities, you understand, and they said those things were not yet ready for government to move it. But I think we have a government house. It's not bad. The military were there. The Ojo Zokano was there, and then also don't forget too that the point it was also being said that Ojo Zokano would sometime come from Ibe. It depends.
No, but I don't know. The area I want to look at, because before we go, because of our time, the area I want us to look at is Governor Dr. Okeze Ibazo is not the first governor of Abia State.
Yes, it's not.
And there have been so many governors that have come and gone. That if we ever initiated this idea of building a government house, and I think
He never initiated it. It was begun by Theodore.
no, for him to have influenced the continuation,
Yes.
and to the level they stopped at.
Yes.
I think he deserves a little kudos. In as
you-
much as any government that comes in,
Yes.
once it's not of the same
I
party,
think
criticism
you are
will be
right.
there.
You are right in this extent. I don't know the level of work there, whether completed or not completed. But what I want to say is simple. Government is continuing. If you inherit something, maybe an ongoing project, try to complete it. No matter the predecessor, whether you're from your party or not from your party. This is the thing we are talking about here.
That's it.
Culture of abandonment. And that is why you see establishments and facilities, even buildings like the so-called Eniba Hotel and the rest of them suffering abandonment, because government will come and go. People will think that I didn't begin this project, and this thing has actually entered into institutions like our school. Our schools now, if you see primary schools, you see a primary school block needs to be reconstructed or revamped, but they will prefer to build a new one, and then scatter the whole space, and destroy the scenic the beauty of the school, and then you will see that they will utter everywhere with buildings, just to make sure, because every governor wants to have a project. They say I initiated and completed. It shouldn't be like that. I think Governor now has inherited this, whether or not the project is complete. Yes, it's now left for him to do the needful, to make sure that that place is livable before he's at work. But then there is also something about it too that is also humorous. You know, when President Muhammad Buhari came back from one of his medical tours, he wouldn't resume from his office. He was coming from his home at the villa, and we were talking about it. I remember Ruben Abati writing an article. They said there must be ghosts inside the villa there at the office. We are now being told that termites had infested the office of the president. So a lot of things happened, and then someone was actually saying, to be on a lighter note anyway, he said there could be juju there or something. You know,
it's taking his time to make sure these things
but whatever it is, you are the governor. And accountability, transparency, probity, openness, and dedication demand that you follow the legal protocol. But if you are to govern from your house or your native compound, okay, but let it not be that the state will now be the one to power your diesel, do certain things, including paying your domestic staff, because you are a property of the state. Anywhere you are, you must have people who, in fact, the state is even paying your cook, your domestic staff. So to me, well, it should be in our interest to have a livable government house.
All right, wonderful viewers, this is where we are going to stop for today. Have another wonderful day with us. Until then, until we come your way again, remember on Friday, Issues of the Moment will be coming your way. But before then, remember I have Comrade Nnamdi Lekwachi, the first-class historian. Comrade, we are pleased to have you again today.
It's always my pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Goodbye, viewers. God bless you all.
And this is your anchor man, Chinedum Adiele. Keep it with us some other day, and then keep watching Living TV. Bye for now.